What is up, YouTube? This is That PlayStation Gamer. Today, I am gonna do a somewhat different take in what I normally do. Normally, I just do straight up reactions, and then as the Flash Gates would be like, "Oh yeah, subscribe, bros." But no, like this is actually something I've been wanting to talk about, mostly because I feel like we do need to talk about how the Mario movie's success might actually hurt other movies going forward. Now, obviously, this is a whole complex issue, but I did see this video and I do want to expose more people to it because I see both sides of the argument. I see both sides saying that this is like a good movie. This is one of their favorite Mario. This is not one of their favorite Mario games. I almost said that. But this is like one of their favorite adaptations, and there's people out there like they're not happy about it, and just because they feel like it's a pretty mediocre movie, and I'm kind of in that camp. No, I'm not kind of in that camp. I am in that camp where it's like I just think the movie's mediocre. I'm sorry. If you like it, great, cool, but let's get into this video because I feel like they do actually a very good job at talking about both the sides of the argument.
And get into a little discussion that I think might.
So yeah, shout out to Double Toasted. I remember when they were actually called something else. Goddamn, I remember this because it was actually animated. I love these guys though. They're I generally like their reviews of movies, and when they talk about pop culture and stuff like that, or just the world in general. Because Corey here, he's like a nerd, but not like in a traditional way. Like he's very self-aware. Like, hey man, some of the shit I like ain't exactly the popular with the ladies, but
Might be interesting based on some rumblings I've been hearing about a certain film out there. So I'll start by saying this. We were begging for not that okay, not that good, but that great video game movie. Our show. Something that had a really
I know the punchline here, and you guys know the punchline. I know the punchline. What do you think the punchline is?
amazing story. Something that fans of the game could watch, but also non-fans could come in and not be like, this is interesting, but be like, damn, this is actually good. This is based on a video game? Yeah. That's what they would say. 30 years later, it happened.
You haven't seen the world, so you don't know. No? Your cargo.
The Last of Us, the series on HBO, came out to critical acclaim.
Mm-hmm.
People said it's an instant masterpiece. The story is so compelling, just like it is in the original video game.
I would actually go as far as say that I think the story in the TV show is a little bit better than the game. Now, that's not saying the game story's bad. By no means is it bad. It's still the same fundamental story in the show, but with the show, they get more of a chance to breathe. Yeah, and they do have to compensate for lack of gameplay with, more scenes of, like, kind of getting a perspective in the character's mind. Like, I know some people out there, like some Rice, we did a freaking, I guess you would say, post-season 1, talk. And he said he didn't like how Joel was, softened. And to a degree, I guess what he's talking about. Like, yeah, I kind of agree that they softened him up a little bit too much. But at the same time, there's a problem with a video game, how a game can communicate that the player, how the character is to the player versus a TV show. Like a TV show, you do kind of have to explain where the character's coming from, or at least show it visually. And I do think the show did a very good job. I think that they also kind of, they softened Joel up because this Joel wasn't as violent as the game Joel. That's my personal take on it, because he's not as violent, because, as Craig Mason said it, we use violence sparingly because, well, first, it costs a lot of money to do, and second thing, the more violence that a person commits, you could say a more of it strips away their humanity. And Joel's already like how a lot of his humanity strips, so more violence strips more of it away. I don't know. Just personally, I do think they softened him up a little, but I actually kind of like that version a little bit more than the hardened. I swear to God, Joel at points he was close to being Kratos in a game where I was like, I felt like his Kratos' wife. Where I'm like, do I have to translate your fucking grunts?
Such attention to detail to the narrative, something that we hardly ever see with a lot of adaptations. Some people say never ever see with adaptations. People said video game movies and now shows have finally arrived, and we were here to witness it. And then 3 weeks later, God damn it, this little Italian man's about to mess up everything that we worked so hard for, is what some people are saying. Some people are saying that the Super Mario Brothers movie, for all the progress that we've made, this is the one. Just 3 weeks later, this is the one that's going to make us start stepping backwards. It's going to erase all that progress that we did. It's going to come in and just take things back to the way they were. Companies not giving a damn about the property as long as they make their money, which is what people are saying. If this reaches $1 billion, could it have a negative effect on future video game movies? And I'll tell you this, now a lot of you getting mad right now because y'all are saying, will you leave that man alone? What are you, jealous? You know, this man, let him make his money. Let people have fun. Before you start getting too upset, keep in mind that there are arguments that can be made for and against this. I'm here to look at actually both sides.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm here to,
fair
you know,
enough.
I'm not going to say play devil's advocate. I'm here to just kind of listen to what everybody's saying. And actually, let's all, you know, just kind of have a discussion about this. I'll bring up a point and then, you know, I'll just kind of spread it around the room right here. But let's just say that there is an argument to be made for this. I believe that people, okay, you're a little nervous about that for some of the people who saw this and they say that this is nothing but references, nostalgia. What'd you call that, Chris?
Member bears.
There you go.
I'm in that camp. I'm in Chris's camp. Like, they'll get into it, but I got a lot to say.
Remember this, remember that. You know, oh, it looks just like the game. I don't need anything else. You know, who cares about story? Hey, you know, it's everything that I recognize. I recognize stuff. Is there an argument to be made for that? You know, listen, I can't blame people for feeling that way. You know, any message saying that story doesn't matter, you know, as long as you're making your money or you can make, you can get by on nostalgia. I could say that could be a little worrisome. I can see how people could be worried about that. I mean, especially if you've seen how that has worked for other properties out there. You know, a lot of people say that, you know, nostalgia and just being thrilled by an icon or an image is something that has really brought down some of our most beloved properties. You know, just play Star Wars for you right there. While some people still like Star Wars, there's some people saying like, yeah, that's been affected by that. Studios follow a formula. You can expect to see other properties given the same treatment. You know, at this point, you might start to see just flat out imitations and ripoffs of the Super Mario Brothers movie. You know, like, don't be surprised if
The worry is that executives will see the success of the Mario movie, say, make that. Don't make that movie. Don't make your twist on that movie. Make that movie. Make it safe. Make it enjoyable for everyone, especially fans. But don't challenge the characters. Don't change anything. Keep it exactly the way it is. And I'm going to say this. I'm in a camp of, if you're not going to change anything, then why the hell should it be made? Because here's the thing about adaptations. I think it just kind of gets lost in translation. Is that I want to see something different than I've already played. Yeah, it's nice to see Mario, you know, on the big screen, look cool and all. It's a visually good looking movie. But that's it. That's all I got out of that. And that worries me about a Zelda movie, a Metroid movie, where it's like those are characters that actually have a lot of stories, like a lot of good characters too, that they could tell. And it's just like, oh no, just make it safe. Also, I'm just gonna say this. I feel like the Mario movie's sense of humor is super generic. Like the only thing to me it was like really made me laugh was the Star Child, the depressed Star Child. That's it. That's the only thing that was consistently getting a laugh out of me. Everything else, like Bowser seeing pictures. I fucking hate that scene. You know, the stuff, you know, like with the toads being that scene, but we're adorable. Like, oh my god. Fuck, just shut the hell up.
In the future, the not too distant future, you see Detective Pikachu.
Good movie. Very good movie, in fact. In fact, I will say this much. I love how people talk about like how the Mario movie broke the curse. I'm like, did you guys forget about Detective Pikachu? That was actually a good movie. Like that was like something I was like, yeah. Because they did more with it. They expanded more on it. They just didn't do, oh, look, it's the game, but on the big screen. It's like, no, this is actually something that the big screen was like, hey, let's tell a bigger story. Because the Detective Pikachu games, I don't think are that fucking intense.
Rebooted into a movie where it's just nothing but Pokemon fights and a cameo from one Pokemon to the other with no real tight narrative right there. Nothing as inspired as what they did right here with Detective Pikachu. Now that's one argument to be made for being concerned about this. That's not me really speaking, you know, what I feel completely, but I'm just saying that that's some of the things that people might be saying or the arguments they might be using. But, you know, feel free to chime in, y'all. How you feel about it?
I mean, my whole thing with this, you know, I brought up before, you know, I was concerned with Illumination getting this property because as I said, I think they're a schlock animation house.
Mhm.
I think they're kind of the worst of the worst when it comes to comparing them like DreamWorks or Pixar or anyone else. You know,
Right,
I just think they're a bad studio. And I thought they did a better job than like something like Despicable Me, Minions, but it's not doing anything new with the characters or fun or refreshing. It's just that, I mean, the other thing about it, and I said this before, Nintendo fans are very easy to please. And you could
There's a lot of truth in that sense right there. Nintendo fans are easy to please. Christ's sake. Do I even have to make examples? Wii Sports. How the fuck did that game chart in the top 5 at launch? Sorry, not Wii Sports, Switch Sports, whatever. The new one that came out. And Mario Strikers and freaking Mario Golf. Like, Nintendo fans are just the easiest to please. You just put a Mario logo on a box and they'll just be like, best thing ever, 10 out of 10.
could put like a Nintendo logo on a stump and they'll be like, that's the greatest stump ever. And so
Thank
I can
you.
see why they're just excited about this movie. But eventually when they keep making these sequels and spinoffs and everything, people are gonna be like, they're gonna want to demand more. But then you also have all the other studios are going to be like doing the same thing Illumination's now doing. I am concerned by the success of this movie. It's like, hey, yeah, you did the best you could, sure. But yeah, the ramifications of the movie's success, I think it could hurt a lot of other Nintendo adaptations and other game adaptations as well in the future.
Well, okay, so, and you say that the Nintendo fans are easy to please.
They are, yeah.
But look how people lost their shit when the first design of Sonic. Like that was not, and the people weren't like, oh, well, it's Sonic, cool, let's go with it. They were like, no, goddammit, we are not seeing this until you make it exactly like it is in the game.
Yeah, well, Sonic's not a Nintendo character.
Right, but it's still a video game character
Sure.
where the fans of it were like, they weren't so easy to please. They were, disproportionately angry about
And
it.
they were right.
Yeah, and they got it changed and got something that everybody loves.
Also, that's the other thing I love people forget about. Like the Sonic movie, like, this video game curse has been broken for a while now. Can we just stop pretending it's like, oh, but it's animated? Well, Sonic's animated. Like, dude, I said in my fucking review, I think the Sonic movies were better. I think they did more of the character. I think they did more of the characters. Hell, even like the human characters. Okay, the first one they were kind of, but then it's like, the second one is like when really they kind of amped everything up. Again, much as I think Jim Carrey is snorting something lately, goddamn, him as Dr. Robotnik, Eggman, whatever you call him, you could have picked worse. Just saying. You could have picked worse. Could have picked better, but you could have picked worse. And like, the actor they got for Knuckles and Tails, I think were spot on, and the actor for Sonic, spot on. Kind of make me excited for the Sonic 3 movie. Not like I'm gonna go see it in theaters day of release, but it's like I kind of want to see it.
I don't go as deep with these things as you guys do, but just watching from where I am, it just seems like with this Super Mario Brothers movie, it is appropriate for what Super Mario Brothers is, where that's more focused on gameplay than story, as opposed to The Last of Us, which is much more focused on story.
I like I said, man, I do think there's a concern to maybe not so much for this movie, but I could see people being very concerned about what this would lead to. Because while this movie probably came in and did something that was true to its property, other people are just going to be doing it just for the money.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah, that's what.
Superhero movies went through the same cycle.
Exactly. Listen, studios are a business, okay? They're not out there like to chase stories. They're out there to chase money. So if this makes $1 billion, and then they like I said, they didn't have to really concentrate on any kind of story or anything. Something that might not be as well adapted to just kind of being as as freeform as this. We might not be getting the quality of stuff that's out there. Is one argument, and that's like I said, it's not reflecting my thoughts exactly.
Well, to that point, we're going to be probably getting more of these, but with this being such a huge commercial success, Nintendo's going to be like, oh, we're full in on Illumination, and so yes, we're going to get.
That's where I do kind of get worried, because I agree with, by the way, what he said about Illumination. They are super generic. They're like the most generic animation studio out there. They're the safest too. They're not like Pixar or DreamWorks where, yeah, they'll have a couple of, duds, but then they'll like have that really good one. I don't think there's ever been an Illumination movie that's really been that compelling. Hell, even like Blue Sky, when they were still around, they still, some of those Ice Age movies were okay. Some of them were okay. The first and second one were pretty okay. They got the job done, but then it's like the other ones were like, ugh, why is this franchise still going? But yeah, that is a kind of a concern, because if they see this movie doing well and it didn't really do much with its characters, I worry that Illumination's going to get their hands on, a Metroid movie or a Zelda movie or, I don't know, freaking Star Fox movie. I guarantee you Nintendo's already got some ideas out there, and guarantee they're looking at Illumination like, how busy are you?
Get the Super Mario Bros. Sequel, Luigi's Mansion, Donkey Kong, all that. I mean, they practically set all that up in the movie. But then you have some other Nintendo properties where I just feel like Illumination would not serve those potential properties well by being animated by Illumination, like a Legend of Zelda film. Like, I feel like that story and those characters, there's more epicness. That's a grand fantasy.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if we get the Zelda movies, it's going to be, here's referencing, Ganon, and here's the region. Oh, here's this music, and here's the ocarina, and there's Tingle. That's my fear, because I feel like you can do so much more with those stories compared to something like Mario. And I feel like, again, Illumination's just be like, we're just gonna do the same stuff that we've been doing because we haven't really faced any, problems. Our movies have always made money, and then as long as we keep Nintendo happy, then who cares? And that lets me down because it'll be generic.
Yeah, completely legitimate point.
Yeah.
Although with all the things that you listed that they're going to do, it could be that it's more work than Illumination can handle, and it has to be passed off to others.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I hope so.
Because I think you make a really good point that I want to talk about later, because I actually have it saved for later. But it's a great point. But you also make a great point, because what you're saying is like, okay, you can play fast and loose with Mario. That's cool. But when you get something that is more story driven, is that something where people are going to like actually do less just to get the money and just to put in all the nostalgic stuff, and something that's very story driven is going to be harmed by that. You're not going to get a great story where you actually did in the game. I can see exactly what you're saying.
I see it.
I still think, you and I talked about this. I still don't think that they'll make a Zelda movie with Illumination.
No, I hope
that's
not.
kind of my hopeful thing.
I don't want them to.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I think Illumination, they're in the Nintendo business now. And so it's like, we'll pump out a Despicable Me or a Minions movie, sure. But like all those other franchises they set up, they're not gonna make another Sing. They're not gonna make another Life of Pets, because it's like, we know that one of these movies is probably gonna make $800 to $1 billion+. So, and like, hey, what's after Mario, like what's Nintendo's other beloved, series?
Like Zelda. Yeah.
Zelda. And
I
think that's
don't
it.
imagine you'd see a Zelda movie, as you said. I think that they have a better chance to make that live action than anything, or
That could work.
the rings of a.
A Zelda movie works better in live action than a Mario movie. Just gonna say it. And the reason why is because Zelda's already kind of. I'm not gonna say Zelda walks that Lord of the Rings territory completely, but there definitely some Lord of the Rings inspiration. Just saying. But I think a Zelda movie works better as live action than a Star Fox or a Donkey Kong movie. I think also like a good property they could adapt it into a live action movie is Metroid. Fuck, I want Metroid because you imagine you get you put some of that horror elements in there. Legit would be excited.
Lord of the Rings or something like that, kind of in that realm. I don't see them doing animated, but like Donkey Kong, like they're definitely gonna do something like that.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
anything that's
fine.
like good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Banjo Kazooie, a Yoshi movie. It's gonna be some bullshit.
Got Banjo Kazooie, and he says Crash Bandicoot. Banjo's owned by Microsoft. Crash Bandicoot's might get owned by Microsoft. I don't know.
Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, all that stuff's coming, man. And just the fact that Last of Us did so well, then now this back to back, they're just like, okay, like they're willing to go see it. And it's not just gamers; it's mainstream media. So
Let's talk about why there's no reason to be concerned about this, and there probably are reasons for this. Again, just playing both sides right here. So, going back and looking at the Super Mario Brothers movie right here. Maybe the Super Mario Brothers movie is so faithful to the property, that's why it is so successful. This is probably one of the most faithful adaptations of anything out there, and that is why people are loving this. That is the real recipe for success with this right here. Which you'll also have a Green Chef right here, man. That's
God.
this shit again.
I do have to stop and add any of these to you
Yeah, sponsorships. I get it.
there, man. Ooh, boy.
Save the world, man.
Recycling has never. Hey,
Ray Dash.
hey, yeah.
I don't have a car. It takes a little longer.
Hey, I got your appetite up right now, so I'll tell you what. Get sick.
Yeah, Green Chef.
So-
check them out.
I was saying before we went to this ad that, maybe it is so faithful, the Super Mario Brothers movie, maybe it is so faithful to the property, to the game, that is why people are really loving this. I mean, whether it has
Just gonna say, I think they're milking the shit out of this fucking trailer footage.
a story or not, a good story or not. And there's an argument to be made for that, because if you look at the past, the biggest thing that people have been complaining about is that the studios didn't care enough to even make it resemble
Right.
the game.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
speaking of the Mario Brothers, I mean the one that came out in '93
Yeah.
is notorious for being nothing like the game.
They're on the trail of a kidnapped princess and a mystical
She saw the movie and was like, damn, what the hell is that?
She's right from the premiere.
That was one of the reviews for the premiere.
Yeah, that was the biggest complaint. A lot of people actually going in and saying that, then there's people trying to be, they're trying to be different. They're trying to say like, nah, man, you don't understand. The first Mario Brothers movie, that's the best adaptation because they tried something different. There's an argument to be made that they tried a little something too different. I even made the argument that if this didn't have Super Mario Brothers name on it and they didn't have those attachments, it probably still wouldn't be a good movie. But it would be something that would be interesting and not as bad, But yeah, because of the them using the IP and certain names and icons and whatnot, it's terrible because people didn't want that. It goes on and on, man.
I got your Super Mario Brothers for you. Yeah, but what is that?
Yeah. Wait a minute, this ain't what I ordered. Hey! God damn it. They got me to roll.
Fucking DoorDash.
But they kept doing it. He did it as recently as 2021. Mortal Kombat had a character nobody even recognized.
Fucking piece of shit movie. Gonna say that right now.
I hated this movie.
That character was never in the game.
Nope.
And nobody asked for that.
I forget what his name is.
Was it Cole? Or
Cole
And
Young.
they built
Yeah.
the whole movie around it.
Yep.
Yeah. Nobody, no one asked for his ass. Everybody wanted to see the main characters, and you did, but he took a whole lot of time away from them. Nothing against the actor, but that was just uncalled for, man. Going back to some other games that were even considered to be, are movies rather, movies based on games that are considered to be decent, still messed up a little bit because they tried to change things around for just dumb reasons. Silent Hill, they changed the main character. If you
Ooh, I know Rice isn't gonna like that comment, that take. The Silent Hill movie. I know he likes that one a lot.
played the game, the main character is a guy named Harry Mason. They changed it to a woman because somebody said, and I read this, somebody said at the studio, they said, well, we don't think it'll be as scary as if it's a guy running around. A woman's more vulnerable.
What?
So,
Okay.
yeah. Only thing more frightening than that was the sexism back then that was happening. Yeah, they changed it up for a dumb reason like that. You got other things going on. Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li.
You have found your power. You must decide what you fight for.
What about that movie had anything resembling Street Fighter? Oh my god. You know what? Maybe the Mario movie ain't that bad now. Let's see what came before.
Okay, what's that? That's M. Bison.
No, that's M.
Blind
Bison.
dude in a three-piece suit. Say what you will about the Van Damme Street Fighter. They tried to.
They did try.
They really did try. This right here, people were perplexed. They said this is nothing like the game. I mean, you got some people that are wearing the mask, or you got the weapons, or they got the name, but there's nothing else to resemble that game right there. So and listen, there's some exceptions out there.
Raccoon City.
Yeah,
My name is Alice, and this is my story.
Raccoon City, not such a success, but Resident Evil, the movies, whether you love them or hate them, they weren't. After a while, they
Fucking sucked. I would argue the only good Resident Evil movie we've had are either ones that were animated, and even then I think some of them still suck ass, like Age of Degeneracy or whatever the fuck that first one was called, and the first Resident Evil live action movie. And even then, it wasn't like that good. I was like, oh, that's okay. Resident Evil 2 sucked ass. 3 sucked ass. 4, 5, 6 suck ass. And not ass you want to suck either, like shit filled ass, like ugh.
and you know what? For several movies, it worked. So sometimes there is an exception out there. But I want to bring this back to your point, man. So I think you made, and I had this already prepared, but I think you made a great argument when you mentioned that The Last of Us, it has a great story already. The game had the great story already.
Yeah.
It was prepackaged in before they got there.
It's part of the package deal. Hey, it's already a good story to begin with. Just make some modifications.
Mario does not have a story,
No.
So maybe people are not so bothered by this being very loose.
My thing is, and that's a good point to bring up. I agree. But then I look at Arcane. Then I look at Castlevania. Those things do not, some of them have lore, but
Yeah.
in terms of those characters, the storylines themselves in the games, I mean, they're one dimensional. You had writers and creators that came in and like, I understand this property very well. And the studio trusted them, but I want to expand on it while honoring everything that came from those games before. And it bore spectacular results. Like, Arcane for me is like, that was like my favorite just a piece of media from 2021.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Castlevania, that was like there it is. That's like the first truly great, awesome video game adaptation where they kept getting better from season to season, really expanding all those characters. Like Trevor Belmont wasn't a character. Like all the depth what they added to Dracula, it's like, oh wow, I see where he's going through, and the Alucard, like all that, dealing with him growing insane. Those properties had very little story to begin with, and look at what they did with it.
Oh yeah. No, they were able to take it and run with it. I think part of that it's kind of like with the first Blade movie, where Blade was such a C-list character that you you could expand and do what you wanted.
True.
And take these chances without having any.
There's some truth to that. If you're given very little to work with, or at least very little people are aware of, you're allowed to do more of it. Like, if the studio doesn't really care about the quality of the movie, but they want, they say just do what you want, you get someone that actually cares about the franchise and, is fairly competent, you get a show like Castlevania, which, by the way, I've not seen, but I've heard a lot of good things about. People were like, yeah, this is like one of the first, I guess you'd say, video game adaptation television series, I'm using air quotes here, that like really resonated with people. Then Arcane came out, and even like Cyberpunk Edge Runners came out, and people love that stuff. Like, I think we're now living the times where adaptations are not being so much, run by studios as they're being run by people who care about the properties in some cases. Like in the case of The Last of Us and the ones I mentioned before, where it's like they actually care about the property they're adaptating, but they do want to put like something on it that's not already there to begin with.
Backlash from it. And those games, Arcane and Castlevania, while popular, are not on that Mario level. You're looking at like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And it's going to the theater.
There is something to be said about when something's so recognizable that if you change from that, people are gonna recognize, they're gonna notice the difference. They're like, well, no, that's not Mario. That's not Mickey Mouse. That's not Sonic. There's some truth to that. And they don't go to the movies then.
Optimistically, you could say, all right, they didn't expand and do a lot with the story because it's like, we got to do proof of concept.
Yeah.
And then once it's proven, then they can go move forward. Now it's Illumination, so they probably won't.
Yeah, it's my concern.
Yeah.
But it's you can see where there's the difference in that. I mean, I get what you're saying because I see what you want to see, and I think that would be the great thing for everybody.
Yeah.
But we are, as you say, dealing with studios that are about making money, and they're gambling with a lot of money, so they aren't trying to, take those chances and lose it. Something that's going to a show on Netflix, they're like, yeah, we can go for it.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
You got to also understand that Mario's a kids movie.
Yeah.
So there's almost, I'm not trying to, again, because I'm
Just so you know, you could always get something worse than Mario. You could get the Halo TV show. And I don't know if Corey talks about the Halo TV show, but fuck that show. With the rubber hose and the metal rod and everything you could put up an ass.
I am in the camp of people who think they should have done a little bit more with the story here. But, I think there's also sort of an appeal for, again, things not having a real tight story, things just being really kind of loose and fun, and kids like that. If you notice, you mentioned Castlevania and Arcane, and I think, the difference between those and Mario is that these are adult properties right here.
Sure.
And I think, if you're dealing with a much more mature audience or a grown-up audience, I think, that's probably what needs to happen here, is that if you have something for kids, okay, you can be kind of carefree with it. The kids even like that a little bit. Stream of conscience in a way, if you want to think about it. But then when you're dealing with a much more mature audience, then you have to have a really tight story or a good story, The argument that I made for Mario needing to be better was I mentioned Sonic, But even then, if you look at it, Sonic was, they had to take liberties with Sonic. I mean, Sonic had to. It didn't take place on his ring world or anything. He had to come to Earth, and then then
like He-Man.
Yeah, like He-Man, exactly. And they just made a fish out of water story. Now it worked. It was a lot of fun, and he did a lot of very creative things with adapting certain elements from the game to the movie and into our world. But it's still, they had to take a lot of liberties and change it up. Same thing with Detective Pikachu. Detective Pikachu was, it's different from the game. He's Ryan Reynolds.
When he was.
So I would say that there's a purity to Super Mario that I think people are actually responding to.
Clearly.
I mean, there's just something where it's the things I didn't like about it were probably like the music cues that they have. You say Martin the Needle drops, because Illumination does it all the time, and they weren't
modern
needed
music,
here.
yeah.
Modern music, they just put it in there. I actually feel like I would have liked this better had they not done that. But reflecting on this more and seeing the arguments now that people are making back and forth about this movie, I'm like, man, there's a purity to this movie about them just sticking so close to the game that doesn't have a story and just bringing it to the screen that people are responding to greatly.
And the fact that it was Nintendo as well, I mean, they probably had so much say because they will take people's videos down like that.
Yep.
I don't even know if this Twitch stream's gonna make it.
Yeah.
But they so the fact that they were like, all right, you give it to Illumination, I'm sure they had so much say. Like, you're not changing.
I do think there's also something. No, that's true too. Like Nintendo was probably looking over their shoulder, like, no, that's not Mario. Make Mario. Yeah, we know he's voiced by Chris Pratt. So what? Make Mario.
Changing this, you're not doing that.
Sure.
Yeah. So be curious to feel how much they had, I guess, reign on that.
Yeah.
Nintendo had like a reputation for years. Like, we're not getting, because they had such a better experience making
Exactly.
the original '93 Super Mario Bros. Movie. They're like, we're not adapting anything. We don't want to do that.
And then again, people could come in and even make an argument for what I'm saying right now, because I mean, taking something and that has no story to it, and then adding a story to it that's pretty cool. That's what they did for this property right here.
2, 3. I am so pumped up. Awesome.
You got other fucking movie voiced by Chris Pratt. But actually, I will say this. I think Chris Pratt did a better job with the Lego movie than he did the Mario movie. Because I think he's, back then, still had more to prove. Like, he wasn't, super recognizable at that point. I think, what, Guardians and Lego movie came out, like, a year apart, or maybe the same year? I'm not 100% sure about that. But, Chris Pratt was he's like, no, I still got to put my A game in it. In a Mario movie, he was just like, yeah, Mario. Yeah, I kind of did the accent. I did the catchphrase. Where's my check? They actually had to do more with the Lego movie because it's Lego. It's the part of what makes Lego so great is the imagination.
Everything is awesome.
Legos. Come on, I mean, I remember everybody were rolling their eyes at that thing. What the hell are you gonna do with that? The Lego movie.
Damn good movie.
They put a story in that was actually pretty funny.
Crushed it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'll let you guys kind of close, but I'll say this. I think it's a legit concern to have with people saying what kind of standard is the Mario Brothers movie setting if it's going to make $1 billion with being very light on anything else but nostalgia. I think it's a concern to have, yeah. But I think it's an overreaction to say that it's going to ruin movies or video game movies moving forward. Could it? Probably. I don't know. But I think that's I think that's a great overreaction. I think not everybody's going to be trying to, pursue money. You're going to have another Castlevania. You're going to have another Arcane. You're going to have another Last of Us. You're going to have another Lego movie. It's not everybody's just going to be pursuing just a buck and trying to repeat what Mario's doing. So, at least that's my hope.
Well, it kind of goes in a pattern where somebody does that and then other people try to copy it and it gets lesser. But then just as people are kind of like, I don't know. There's somebody who's passionate about it. Some studio is passionate and goes like, no, we're going to make the best one of these. And it revives interest.
Or like an edgier one or something,
Yeah.
And then it changes. Everybody follows that narrative.
I'm curious because I know how I feel, but what's the universal take? Is Sonic 2 better than Sonic 1?
I guess so. I mean, both movies are kind of equal to me in a way.
Okay.
I would probably pick Sonic 2 over Sonic 1.
Yeah,
I think they're generally well liked.
Because I feel like Sonic 2 is a lot better than Sonic 1.
Same, because I feel like Sonic 1 had to kind of prove itself. Like, okay, Sonic can work in live action. And then 2 is like, okay, now we know it works. Now we know people want to see it. Now we need to do more with the character outside of oh, see, he's Sonic from the games. Like, no, you need to expand upon him. And that's why I hope they do in a Mario, movie sequel. Is they expand upon the character of instead of just making it I guess you would say stagnant.
one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so with Mario, there is a chance of having that kind of thing happen.
True.
Where
That is true.
You know, with the first Sonic, it was like, oh wow, they did it. I mean, it's not great. Jim Carrey's awesome.
Yeah.
But the fact they did it, okay. And with the second one, it's like, oh wow, they actually put some real thought into this.
Yeah.
They bring in more of the characters. Too,
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, and you know, Mark, you make a good point. It's like how many times can you just keep, just showing stuff, just to get a reaction? At some point, you're gonna have to make probably something clever to get by.
Yeah.
Or not, who knows? But
It's an
that
elimination.
is a good point. Well, anyway, what do y'all think, man? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm excited to see Conker's Bad Fur Day once they.
Oh yeah,
It's gonna be fun. No, I think that Peaches song is gonna probably win an Oscar for best
Oh,
original
no.
song.
That
I'm
is
not even
legitimately
kidding.
great. That sounds great.
Yeah, good.
yeah.
Yeah, because it gets stuck in your head.
Oh yeah, you seen the video with Jack
Yeah,
Black and all
yeah.
that? I was like, this is ridiculous. They know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see
Yeah,
here.
animation has done well for Jack Black.
Oh yeah.
I love that guy, man. I don't know why. That's a national treasure, dude.
Yeah.
They have a cover. They got covers already, man.
Dang.
Yeah, and pretty good ones too, man. One just went up the other day, man, and it's blowing up. This what?
Go ahead.
Clint.
You got a bit going. I can see it.
His build. He likes to build.
Man,
You're not pulling us anymore. You're not pulling
I'm
us.
telling you, man, this was about to blow up. It's already beating the Jack Black version,
Oh,
man.
okay. Okay.
That's the great Corel Buffett, man.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
crack, bro.
Koopas could keep me from you.
It's the original leg right there.
Where's he performing?
Yeah. Double Toasted Live in Atlanta.
But yeah, that's my reaction to this. Yeah, maybe I came a little hot. Maybe I came a little over aggressive, but I do personally think the movie's mediocre. But at the same time, it's like there's like a million mediocre movies out there. I don't know why this one bugs me so much. Maybe it's just because it's so successful. Maybe that's why. Maybe a successful mediocre movie to me is worse than a failed bad movie or a failed good movie. What are you guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments section. Until next time, guys, this is That PlayStation Gamer. Peace out and have a good day.